I've had a few people ask about how difficult it is to hook up an RV and tow it and stuff. So let's just start from the beginning. The first thing is you got to know the towing capacity of your vehicle. That's step one. This one is 4,000 pounds towing capacity. This RV weighs 2,650 pounds. Great match. All right, because by the time I add 300 pounds worth of stuff on the inside, I still have got a little margin of towing capacity. 4,000 towing here, say 2,900 pounds there, I'm in good shape. Uh, if you just kind of use about an 80% rule of thumb, don't exceed 80% of the towing capacity of your vehicle, and and then of course get you a good 2-inch ball or whatever, and you got to have your 7-pin connector right here. That's what this is right here. That's called a 7-pin connector, and this over here is a 4-pin connector or whatever they call it. That's for like towing trailers and stuff. But anyway, yeah, get you a good hitch in the ball. And also, if you're older like me, these electric hitch things right here are perfect. It's all powered by your 12-volt battery on your RV. Push the little arrow, and it goes up and down. You even have an outside light. And, of course, I've got a lock. I lock the hitch when I'm not using it. But, yeah, it's real easy. What you do is, first of all, to hook up, if you have a backup camera in your car, that makes it a lot easier because you can get it straight in line, and then you just come back, and you may be a foot away or two, and then you kind of come back slowly until you're right under the ball. You raise this up high enough so that it'll clear the ball on your vehicle. Get the ball under here and then put that down on the ball, but be sure it's hooked. You know what I mean? What you need to do there is, let it go down on the ball, close this right here. Okay, don't lock it yet. And then once you've got that latch down, then try to raise the ball, push the up button. Start lifting it up while it's hooked to the vehicle to be sure it is hooked to the ball. Okay, because there's a little deal underneath here that slides up against the ball to keep that from coming off. So yeah, and if you raise it a little bit, put a little tension on it, you'll see that that's hooked. Okay, then once you've done that, then go ahead and lower it all the way down, put the lock on, and you're hooked up. You're ready to go there. Okay, so that's the hooking up process. Be sure you put your chains. You crisscross the chains. That means you put the one on this side over here on the vehicle, one over there on that side, and then hook up your 7-pin light for all your lights. And then you've got this deal right here. This is your brake, the red cable right there. That's your breakaway cable, so that if this thing happened to come off the truck, then the brakes will automatically deploy on the trailer, and it'll just gradually come to a stop, hopefully. And what else? Now that's hooking up. So you're hooked up. You've checked your lights, everything. You've got your brakes, electric brakes, and the vehicle set on the right level, and away you go. You're good to go. Now, once you arrive at a site, the first thing you need to do is get your RV backed in to the site that you want to keep, that you're going to use, whether it's boondocking. Well, let's just assume it's a state park. Okay, that way it'd be easier. So if you're at a state park and you're backed in, you want to be sure that your hose connection and your electrical connection have hoses or cables long enough to reach the electric box. For the electric cable is 25 feet long. So if your electric box is within 25 feet, you're good to go. That's 30 amp. So don't plug it in yet though. Go ahead and then check the water hose. Be sure you got a long enough hose to reach the water, and also get you one of those little pressure regulators for your hose for your RV, so that you don't over pressurize the pipes inside the RV. You can buy them $20 on Amazon, nothing to it. And also carry an adapter, an electrical adapter that gives you a 50 amp to 30 amp adapter, because this is a 30 amp RV, and you will come into some places occasionally that only will have 50 amp. All right, well, if you've got the 50 to 30 amp adapter, then you can plug in your 30 amp and you're good to go. All right, another thing you should do before you get carried away finishing your leveling and all the stuff, be sure the power works, you know what I mean? Because sometimes you'll get to a campsite and even though you're plugged into the power, you may not have any. You know, check inside, be sure, you know, check something that runs on 110. The microwave's usually an easy thing. Check and see if the microwave works. If it does, you got power. All right. And also then check the water, you know, because sometimes you'll get somewhere, you'll have electric, but you won't have power. I mean, we won't have water rather. So just be sure you got water, and then let the water run a minute or so, you know, because that site may not have been used in quite some time. So yeah, just, you know, clear out the line, so to speak. Then, before you unhook from your vehicle, very important. Two things. One, be sure the trailer is level side to side, okay, like this on side to side. And what you do there, or I have on this RV, there's see that little level right there? And the bubble's in the middle? If the bubble's in the middle, you don't have to put any blocks under the tires to level it, okay? But assume that that bubble was half a bubble off. Well, one 2x4 block about 4 feet long, or 2x6, get 2x6 boards if you can get them, and put one under there, and that should put it in the center, okay? And if you need more, add another board. And I don't think you'll run into many spots where you'll need more than 2 boards to get that bubble in the middle. But once you've got it leveled side to side, as in left to right, then chock your wheels, okay? Go ahead and chock your wheels. By that I mean, when I say chock, you see those little yellow blocks here? All you do is if you get those with those little straps, it's easier because you can just reach in and grab that handle sometime and jerk it out. But you'll put the chock down there by the tire and kick it in there. You know, be sure it's all the way up against the tire, front and rear, on both sides, okay? You do this before, B-E-F-O-R-E, before you unhook from your vehicle. Why? Well, if you're on a little incline, you know, like say like this, and you unhook from your vehicle and you don't have those blocks down, your RV is just going to take off. I mean, yo. So that's what these chocks are for. So chock your wheels before you unhook from your vehicle. Okay, then chocks are in, then you can unhook from your vehicle. Then the way you do that, very easy. You can go ahead and get your chains off if you want to, and your breakaway cable. You can get those off, unplug your 9-pin connector. You know, then you just lift this thing, you unlock it, lift this up to unlatch it, so to speak, and then use your electric winch or hitch or whatever you want to call it to raise this thing up off the ball. It'll build a little pressure and then it'll kind of pop off, you know what I mean? But put a little grease on the ball so it makes it easier, or oil or something, you know, it'll slip off easier if you do that. And then what else? Okay, so now you've got the thing chocked, you're level side to side, and you're off the ball. Pull your truck out of the way, you know, or just pull forward 2 or 3 feet. Go about 3 feet. Give yourself room to walk around, you know. And then check your level on the front to rear, okay, front to back. All right, now you see that one's showing the bubbles in the middle, okay, or very close. And so then all you have to do, because you're already level side to side, is raise or lower this to get that bubble in the middle. All right, that's all you need, and then you're home. That's it, guys. You know, you've got everything unhooked from the truck. You're plugged in the power. You've plugged in the water. You know, you go inside. You might want to run the water for a minute or two. You know, just to flush the water out of the lines, because the water hose for the RV it'll have some air in it. You know what I do when I hook up to the water is I run the water through the hose, and I hold the hose in my hand so that when I walk over here to plug it in here, it doesn't get a lot of this air in the line, so to speak. And then I just hook it right here, and we're good to go. Okay. And then these are your dumps. You know, if you're hooked up to, if you have septic wherever you're camped, it goes right here. And this just twists off. This is your black tank. This is the gray tank. It just so happens this has a black handle, and this is a gray handle. Can't hardly miss that, can you? And, you know, whenever you're camping, you can leave them both open. Some people don't. Some people leave the black water closed, put chemicals in their toilet and stuff. I just poop in a bag and throw it in the trash and let the gray water run down the hose. And that way, when you get ready to leave, you don't have anything in the hose except the gray water from the shower and the kitchen sink, you know, and it makes it a lot easier to fool with. And of course, then you got your hot water heater. This hot water heater runs on electric or gas. If you're going to be at a campground where you're paying by the month and it includes electricity, then go ahead and run your hot water heater on electric. No brainer, you know what I mean? Why would you want to use your propane if you're paying for electric at a state park, national park, or any other kind of campground, BLM or whatever? So then you're set up, and that's pretty much it. And you may or may not want to put down your stabilizers. I've got a stabilizer right there on each side, and I've got one of those electric drills that has a bit that fits that nut right here on the end. And yeah, you just put it up against there and zip, zip, it's done. You know, you just run them down to the ground. They're not designed to really lift the RV, you know, for leveling. They're designed for one thing, stabilization. That's it. Okay, so once you get it firmly on the ground, on both sides, your RV is stabilized and you're good for camping. If you have some questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try to respond to them. But, you know, it's easy, man. It's really easy. And if you have a small RV like I have, it makes it much easier because it's easy to tow. You know, I'm not pulling but, let's say, 2,800, 2,900 pounds down the highway, and I've got about 4,000 pounds towing capacity. But anyway, leave some comments if you have questions, and I'll answer them if I can. Anyway, thumbs up, carpe diem, adios, bye-bye. Use the Amazon link in the description of all my videos. Why? It doesn't cost you a penny. Stand guard at the door of your mind and enjoy your camping. Just go slow, and whenever you're back in a camper, don't be intimidated. You know, if you're facing out the windshield of your vehicle like you're driving down the highway, and you want the back of your RV to go to the left, you turn the steering wheel to the right. If you want the back of the RV to go to the right, you turn the steering wheel to the left. You know what I mean? It's just what you want the back of that thing to do is just backwards, okay? So yeah, just remember, and just go slow and test it. You know, just turn the steering wheel and see what happens to the back of the RV, okay? And then try it the other way and see what happens. You know what I mean? So that if you're not in a hurry, you're going to do fine. But if you get nervous and you get in a rush, well, you may be there all day trying to back into a spot. You know what I mean? So anyway, again, stand guard at the door of your mind. Enjoy your camping. And when all else fails, get you a golf cart. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye.